Hello and welcome to Bored and Confused, where I review shows based on two criteria. One, was I bored? Two, was I confused? Today's show is Twelfth Night, playing at the newly renovated Delacorte Theater as part of the Public Theater's free Shakespeare in the Park. Now, before I jump into the details, a quick disclaimer. This review is going to get into a lot of the choices this production makes, the kind of directorial design and performance choices that can be surprising if you go in blind. So if you're like me and you like to sit down and be surprised, let me just tell you this up front. It's a really fun production. It's not traditional, not what I would call a definitive Shakespeare production, but it's bold, it's funny, and it's full of life. And if that sounds good to you, go see it first and then come back and let me know if you had the same confusions that I did, and we'll have a discussion. All right, let's get into it. I love Twelfth Night. It's probably my favorite Shakespeare comedy and probably the play I'm most familiar with. I've seen lots of different productions and I always enjoy revisiting it. Part of the fun of Shakespeare in the Park is that these shows have a very particular energy. They're free, they're outdoors, the runs are short, and they usually feature big name actors making really bold choices. There's a looseness to it, a kind of let's build a barn and put on a play feeling. You can tell the actors are throwing things out there without having months to polish their decisions, and that makes this whole enterprise feel really alive. Now, this production, directed by Saheem Ali, really leans into that playful, throw it against the wall energy. You can feel his hand in the pacing. It keeps things moving at a clip while still letting the big comic moments to breathe. It's a lively staging, and the audience was fully with it from beginning to end. The scenic design by Maruti Evans is striking. The stage is covered in swirling red heart patterns, and large set pieces rise up from the floor as the story moves along. It feels both magical and contemporary, like a pop-up book designed by a fashion house. And speaking of fashion, the costumes are by Helena Botez, and they're equally bold, vibrant, playful, and fashion-forward. They don't root us in any particular time or place, but they absolutely add to the spectacle of the show. One really effective choice this production made, which was surprising, was switching the order of the first two scenes. Now, normally this play begins with Count Orsino and his famous "If music be the food of love" speech. Here, in this production, we start with Viola and the sea captain after the shipwreck. And honestly, I thought that worked beautifully. The scene is just two actors and having dialogue between these two characters, and it really gave us a chance as an audience to quickly tune our ears to the Shakespearean text without being distracted by the music and the pomp and the movement. And I didn't miss a single word. So by the time we got to Orsino's big entrance, my brain was already adjusted. And Orsino's scene, by the way, is set in a gym with him curling dumbbells while live musicians play nearby. It's a curious choice and honestly a little bit perplexing. On the one hand, it's funny and unexpected, but on the other, I felt it muddied the idea of Orsino being so lovesick he can't do anything but mope. Here he looks like he's dealing with the heartbreak by pumping iron, which is a choice. And it's finding comedy, but not in the way that I think Shakespeare had intended. But now let's get into Bored and Confused. Was I bored? Not at all. This production runs about 115 minutes without an intermission, but the pacing is brisk and so it never dragged. So no boredom. Confused? Yes, the setting and style of the production is in modern times, and you know it right away. Orsino's gym scene makes that clear. And later we see cell phones, beer cans. Sir Toby and Sir Andrew Aguacheek are soaking in a hot tub at one point. Then in the curtain call, suddenly we're at a Harlem drag ball with disco lights flashing. It's fun and it's stylish, but it doesn't exactly make sense. Where are we? What time is this? I never quite knew. Then there's the choice to use Swahili in some of the scenes. Lupita Nyong'o as Viola and her brother Junior Nyong'o as Sebastian speak in Swahili with each other a few times. And also the opening scene between Viola and the captain has some moments that are in Swahili. And Lupita Nyong'o used Swahili in the reunion scene, which was very moving and personal. But it does throw the audience for a bit of a loop. Shakespeare is already challenging, and when you switch into another language mid-scene, you can feel the collective brain of the audience working hard to keep up. It doesn't derail the story, but it did make me think about the choice instead of just sinking into the play. Now, performances. Lupita Nyong'o is luminous as Viola. She's warm, clear, and funny. Sandra Oh is delightful as Olivia. She's striking the right balance of regal and ridiculousness. Jesse Tyler Ferguson makes Sir Andrew Aguicheek his own, finding new ways to be foolish without straying too far from the tradition of that character. And Peter Dinklage as Malvolio starts really strong. His seriousness and his stiffness are perfect. But then when we get into the yellow stocking scene, I felt like he tipped over into playing crazy. And I feel the comedy works best when Malvolio is sincerely following the letter's absurd instructions. That's what makes it funny. Here it felt like Dinklage was kind of showing us a lunatic rather than a man humiliating himself earnestly. And it lost some of its bite for me. I also thought that John Ellison Conley was great as Sir Toby Belch. Daphne Rubin Vega as Mariah brought plenty of fire, although her raspy voice doesn't always carry so well in this outdoor space. And Moses Sumney as Festi, the fool, is a quadruple threat. He sings, he plays the guitar, he acts, and he's very funny. The only thing I was on the fence about was the decision to have him sing some of his dialogue. It sounded great, but it didn't always help with the clarity of the Shakespearean text. Another small confusion I had was Mariah's decision to trick Malvolio wasn't staged very clearly. She comes out scolding Sir Toby and Andrew for being too loud, but then turns around and suddenly sides with them against Malvolio, and the switch was abrupt and confusing. And my friend who came with me to see the play, who wasn't as familiar with Twelfth Night as I was, when I asked him about confusing moments, he did mention that as a moment where he didn't quite follow the motivation behind that scene. Malvolio's imprisonment was another head-scratcher. Traditionally, he's shut away somewhere where he could hear the voices but not see who's tormenting him, like in a jail cell below ground. And now here he was inside a giant plexiglass cross outlined in red neon lights. And visually striking, but it was confusing. It looked like an avant-garde art installation, or maybe an S&M cage or a hamster habitat. And if you don't know the play, I don't think you know quite what was happening there. And then the curtain call is the Harlem Ball with glittering lights, gender-fluid costumes, and disco energy. It was dazzling and fun, but again, puzzling, because were we supposed to think this is where we've been the whole play? Or was it just a big, fabulous dance party to send us home? It's probably the latter. Some other observations I also have to mention is the helicopters. Shakespeare in the Park always competes with a little bit of city noise, but the night I was there, last night, the helicopters were relentless. At one point, I looked up and there were 3 helicopters just hanging out over like they were watching the play. Not that it distracts, but it just makes it a little hard to hear. And I wondered if this is a nightly occurrence, that the helicopters are just buzzing over Central Park. This is a very queer production of Twelfth Night. This is already Shakespeare's queerest play, but here it pushes it even further. Antonio's affection for Sebastian is played as romantic love as opposed to brotherly love, and Sebastian doesn't exactly turn him down. And it's an interesting take because it makes the play's world more fluid and contemporary, but it also undercuts the original comic engine of the play, which relies on the strict gender binaries of its time. If same-sex desire is already accepted in this world, then Viola's disguise doesn't carry the same stakes or humor. So, wrapping this up, was I bored? Not at all. Was I confused? Yeah, quite a bit throughout. By the setting, the time period, Mariah's motivations, Malvolio's glass box, the Harlem Ball finale. But did I have fun? Absolutely. I had a great time. And if you know Twelfth Night, you'll enjoy seeing how this production reinvents it. If you don't, you might feel a little lost. But I think you'll still laugh. You'll still enjoy the star power of Lupita Nyong'o, Sandra Oh, and Peter Dinklage, and you'll get that one-of-a-kind New York experience, Shakespeare outdoors, under the stars, with helicopters and raccoons, and thousands of strangers watching it with you. So that's my take. But what about you? Did the Harlem Ball finale work for you? Did Peter Dinklage's performance as Malvolio land for you? Were you charmed or were you puzzled by the Swahili? Let me know in the comments. And please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. It really, really helps me grow this channel and allows me to see more theater and come here and have a discussion with you about it. Thanks again for watching. See you at the next one.
Don't bore me, don't confuse me.